All right, now we're going to talk about how to use a plot mountain to write a story, okay? So you might say, Mrs. Gilmore, I don't have a plot mountain to be able to write on. You don't need one. You can draw your own plot mountain, okay? So all you need is paper. You can do this. Just need to draw a place where you've got your exposition, your rising action up to your climax, then your falling action, okay? You can remind yourself of the parts that you need by drawing a little person, because you need to have characters, by drawing a house, because you need to have a setting that tells where and when with a little clock. And then you're going to need to have a problem. I'm going to write an X to remind me that I need to have a problem. Then in my rising action, I'm going to draw 3 dots going up, because I know that I want to have 3 events. And then I'm going to do a star here at the top. That is my climax, the most exciting part of my story. And then I am going to have a couple events here in my falling action. And then I want to define my resolution. How did they solve the problem, okay? So you can do that, right? All right, so now I'm going to write a story about a worm. Okay, so that's my character. My character is a worm. And this worm is going to live next to a pond. So I'm going to draw a pond. So you don't even have to use words. When you're doing a pre-writing activity, remember, this is for you. This is to organize your thoughts. So you don't necessarily need to write words. You can draw pictures, okay? So they live near a pond, and it's springtime. And draw a sun, okay? Now, the problem is that the worm wants to go visit his cousin on the other side of the pond, and there is a hungry turtle that lives in the pond and loves to eat worms, okay? Now, I have to think of 3 ways that my worm is going to have to try to solve this problem. First, he's going to try to swim. So I'm just going to draw the worm. Here's water. Oops, let me think. Water. And here's my worm trying to swim. Okay? But that's not going to work, because the turtle is going to come right after him and he's going to jump right out of the water. Then the worm is going to try to pole vault over the water. So here's the water, and the worm tries to pole vault. Here's my worm. And you know, that's where you have that big pole, and they run and you put the pole down, and then it takes you, okay? But as he's trying to pole vault, he's going to start to go up and see that the turtle's right down there in the water, waiting to eat him up. And so he's going to fall back the other way. Finally, the worm is going to make a boat out of a leaf and row his way across. And that's going to work, okay? And so then he's going to get to the other side of the pond on his leaf, meet his cousin, and they're going to have a picnic out of an apple. And they feel bad for the turtle, so they throw him the core, and everybody's friends, and they live happily ever after. Okay? So, and the moral of that story, or not, well, I guess it could be moral of the story. Keep trying. Show grit. Don't give up. Okay? So when I've done that, then I can write my story. Now, understand, writing a story, yes, maybe I'm writing my story using a pencil and paper. Maybe I'm writing my story by typing it. And maybe I'm writing my story by telling it. Now, you can tell your story to an adult or a big sister or brother or cousin who can write it for you. Some phones, computers, tablets have the voice to text so that you can talk to a device and it can write it for you. You don't have to be able to write with pen and paper in order to write a story. Stories are written in our heads. How we get them out of our heads and to our audience can really depend, we can do it lots of different ways. So this time I'm just going to tell you my story. I'm going to try to make my story more interesting by adding, oh, there's a hawk up there. Sorry, distracted. By adding some things that I see, that I hear, that I smell, that I taste, okay? All of those little different things can make a story interesting, okay? One bright spring morning, a little worm woke up next to the pond where he lived and realized it was his cousin's birthday, and he wanted to go have a picnic with his cousin. The problem was his cousin lived all the way on the other side of the pond, and a hungry turtle lived in that pond and been trying to eat the worm for weeks. Well, thought the cousin, thought our little worm is going to be named William. Well, thought William, I can get there. I'll just swim. So William crawled to the edge of the pond and started swimming across. Before he knew it, that turtle was right on his tail, snapping. William turned right back around and swam back to shore, phew, barely surviving the experience. Well, I'm not getting in that water again, thought William. So he looked and found a nice, tall stick and thought, I'll just pole vault across that pond. I'll stay up in the air and then that turtle can't get me. So William got that nice strong stick, and that's a Steller jay, one of my favorite birds. Sorry. And wiggled as fast as he could with that stick, planted it in the ground, and started soaring up in the air, but saw the turtle was down in the pond exactly where he'd land. Oh, goodness, he pulled himself backwards and fell back on land again. Whew, that was scary, thought William. What am I going to do now? So William looked and thought, and as he was wiggling and thinking, he came across a nice, large, crunchy brown leaf. Wait a minute. William had seen leaves floating on the pond before. I could use a pond as a boat. So William dragged that leaf to the edge of the pond, and sure enough, it floated. William got on that leaf and started floating across the pond. In the middle of the pond, the turtle came up. It started poking at the leaf. William thought for sure he was going to fall in the water. The waves rocked back and forth as the turtle poked and poked at the boat. But William made it across just fine. Phew! As he got across the other side of the pond, his cousin was there waiting for him, Wilhelmina. Oh, I'm so glad you made it, William, said Wilhelmina. Happy birthday, Wilhelmina. I wouldn't miss your birthday for the world. Oh, good. Come enjoy this apple with me. So Wilhelmina and William went and ate the apple. They saw that poor turtle sitting in the pond looking sad and lonely and hungry and decided, you know what? We don't need this whole apple. So they rolled the core down the hill to the pond, where the turtle happily munched it and said, thank you. I promise not to eat you when you go home. And he didn't. So William, Wilhelmina, and the turtle, I don't know the turtle's name. Maybe you could think of the turtle's name. Lived happily ever after. That's how you can use a plot mountain to help you write an interesting narrative story.